Hello, I'm Matthew Kahn, editor and publisher of Risk and Insurance, and I'm here in Las Vegas for the National Workers' Comp Conference with John Watts, who's CEO of Paradigm. John, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
So, John, Paradigm is really invented and really launched the whole catastrophic case management. What's kind of at the root and core of what it is you guys do?
I think, Matt, the root is really our ability to get in the middle of an emerging horrific situation and help the person who has been hit by a bomb that he or she never expected. And so we do that with a variety of different sort of methodologies, but the key is putting a clinically trained team on the ground to deal almost immediately with not only what's going on with the injured worker, but their family. And that's really kind of the secret sauce, is that we sort of think about the whole person. And for us, that definition is not just about the injured worker, it's sort of about the ecosystem around that injured worker that will be so impactful in that person's recovery over time.
Right. So it's really taking care of the whole person.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though you guys are really the leaders and created this category, you're always evolving and coming out with new approaches.
Right.
What are some of the things you guys are working on now?
Well, we're sort of in the process of building a broader platform of solutions that will allow us to take sort of the DNA of the catastrophic business that we've been doing for 30 years into conditions of lesser severity, basically. And the goal really is, when I joined as CEO a couple of years ago, I was really not only just moved by the work we do, but also moved by how few people we actually do it for, and I sort of feel, it's an obvious business solution to grow the business and grow the company, but I feel it's an obligation that we do what we do for more people because of the impact we have. So, we now have a division that does sort of more traditional case management, that we're bringing some of the clinical DNA that we've developed over time in the catastrophic business to that space to really kind of disrupt it and really become more impactful in driving to outcomes for people that are dealing with complex situations but aren't sort of our catastrophic bread and butter. We've also now moved into the specialty network business, again, to sort of give us reach to create more of a continuum of really clinically focused, outcomes-driven care management for a much broader set of solutions, and therefore touch a lot more people.
Great. And what are some of the examples of the less complex or less catastrophic but still complex? What are some of the examples of something like that?
Yeah, a really good example is a brain injury. So
Okay.
our focus over time has been on catastrophic acute brain injuries that have happened in car accidents or bridge collapses or really horrific situations.
Yeah.
But the science says and the data shows that even mild concussions left unmanaged can develop into more acute brain situation. So that's sort of a condition that spans sort of kind of run-of-the-mill to really horrific situations. So that's one example.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned data. That's I think something that's really interesting in the workers' comp is really awakening to the impact of data and how much information and insight there is. What are some of the ways you guys are leveraging that?
It's a great question, and the greater healthcare space is really evolving towards data and artificial intelligence, machine learning, apps, and all of that. And we look at data a little bit differently. So we believe that when we're dealing with the type of situations we deal with, these catastrophic injuries, that it's the human interaction that makes a difference in a person's recovery. So we have a ton of data. We've done this 15,000 times, guaranteed and achieved an outcome. But we use the data to guide how we build our care plans, as opposed to use the technology to sort of make it more seamless to find, a provider or a care manager, which is some of the focus. So we just used it to help our feet on the street do their job more effectively, because that means we're going to get to an outcome quicker. The injured worker and the family are going to, move from no hope to hope. Client will be sort of realize their value. So it's we're kind of all about data, but we just use it more as a different tool.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. You guys have definitely been sort of leading the industry in that regard.
Exactly.
I think another place which you guys are really one of the first to talk about and focus on to great effect is something we're hearing a lot about now too, which is the sort of biopsychosocial, people say, or the whole person, the family. How does that? How do you guys incorporate that into your approach?
It's first of all, that's part of the DNA. So we've been doing it. We might not have called it biopsychosocial 30 years ago, but
which isn't a great name.
No,
yes.
it isn't a great name. I got it out pretty smoothly.
You did very good.
But we've been incorporating, the behavioral health component, and considering that a vital sort of piece of the pie from the get-go, from the inception of Paradigm. And so we bring it in any number of ways. We have sort of behavioral health specialists as part of our clinical team that will bring in, if that's a big presenting factor. More often, though, the behavior part is just sort of an underlying sort of component of any situation, and that's why we focus so intently on the family, not just the injured worker. And so, many times in a person's recovery, when a catastrophic situation happens, it can be really difficult on the relationship, for example, the marriage.
Yeah.
And so we'll bring in, that component, whether it's therapy or anything, something like that, to sort of help that, because again, that family unit, if that's dysfunctional, we're not going to get to the outcome we want. So there's many ways we do it, and that's an area of evolution for us, where we're beginning to think of how do we come in, for example, if we're brought into a mass shooting, for example, and we have historically been brought in to help the people that have been injured, but there's trauma from people just being in the room, for example. So a little more of a focus on front-end crisis incident management, for example, that isn't specifically about an outcome plan, but sort of extends our value and really can make a difference in people that are can end up with trauma post these situations.
It's really terrific. Well, I, for one, am really appreciative that the rest of the industry is really catching on to a lot of the things that you guys have been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
Yeah. We hope they don't catch on too quick, but yeah.
John, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
For more coverage, you can go to riskinsurance.com. And if you're not here in Las Vegas this year, we hope to see you next year in Chicago. Thank you.